What is up, my dashing dudes? I am the Hans TV, and today we find out what happens whenever you take a look at the biggest collection of idiocy on the internet and probably suffer an aneurysm. It's r/StoriesAboutKevin. Our first post for the day comes from Spicy Tuna Sushi. Queen of the Covinas thought she was a genius. Covina was in my ancient history class in the 7th grade. Covina was the queen bee, but she was also really dumb. The dumb stuff she said during that class was so funny, I made a list in one of my sketchbooks of the dumb stuff she had said. Yesterday, I rediscovered that sketchbook and decided to share a few of my faves off the list. For homework, we had an assignment to write a short essay about 5 things we would bring if we went back in time to the Paleolithic age. One person said they would bring a survival guide to help them know what plants they could eat, how to make tools, etc. The teacher commented that it was a good choice, and Covina, in her infinite wisdom, decided that she had a comment to make. Covina immediately burst out, "But that's a waste of one of your 5 items. You could just pick up a brochure when you get there." Everyone looks at her like she has 5 heads. To anyone who didn't learn this in school, the Paleolithic age was the caveman times. They did not have a language or writing, and they most definitely did not have brochures just lying around. The teacher had to explain this to her multiple times, while the whole time Covina fought with him, and after 10 to 15 minutes of this finally says, "Let's just agree to disagree." I was fully prepared to throw a fat textbook at her head. We were talking about the 10 plagues during our unit on the Middle East. This graduated into questions about the Jewish religion and then the Holocaust. Someone made a comment about Anne Frank, and Covina chimes in, "I feel really bad for her. It would suck if you couldn't see or hear, and she was in the Holocaust." Took a solid 5 to 10 minutes for the teacher to explain to her that Anne Frank and Helen Keller were not in fact the same person. He actually had to show her multiple credible websites proving that they weren't the same person, and she still refused to admit that she was wrong. For the entire school year, Covina had an ongoing fight with my teacher about what human meat would smell like. My teacher said it would probably smell like pork, a reasonable guess. Covina had a theory that it smelled like steak. Makes sense, right? It was probably the only thing that she said that made sense all year. But that wasn't the weird part. She backed up her theory by saying that she was the only one who could actually back up her theory, because she burned her hand on a stove one time when she was 5. This clearly made no sense, especially because for a quarter of the 7th grade, I had to wear bandages on my arm because I got 3rd-degree burns from an accident. My arm did not smell like steak, nor did it smell like steak during or immediately after the accident. Her guess made sense, but her argument that she could actually confirm it because she got 2nd-degree burns from a stove when she was 5 was a straight lie, which I told her multiple times. But my input was irrelevant because I was more qualified to give my 2 cents, but I didn't agree with her. How do we allow people this stupid to live? Like, there are some things you can teach people, but this Covina is so dumb that natural selection should have taken her out when she was 5. This next post comes from Booklace, a Covina in China. I'm an American English teacher in China. Been here for 3 years already. At my school, the foreign teachers, FTs, are assigned a Chinese assistant who helps FTs get adjusted to a new life in China. Her duties include helping us set up bank accounts, finding an apartment, etc. Flashing back to my first year, the Chinese assistant at the time was a true Covina. Covina had decent English, but an astonishing lack of common sense. Even amongst my Chinese colleagues, she was infamous for her Covina-ness and getting herself into messes. She is well liked by the principal of the school, so she was assigned as the FT's assistant since it's a higher salary. Unfortunately for her and her charges, myself included, her lack of common sense caused heaps of shenanigans. One of my favorite mishaps happened when my roommate tried to send money home. It's not easy to send bank transfers from China to America. One of the easiest options at the time was a Western Union WU transfer. Western Union is an international business that lets you wire money from one Western Union branch to another. It made it possible for FTs to send money from China to their home country, since someone in their home country could pick the money up and deposit it into their home bank account. My roommate asked Covina to go with her the first time. She was nervous about the language barrier and wanted a native speaker to go with her. While at the WU branch, there seemed to be no problems. It's a pretty straightforward process, though my roommate was aware that our assistant was a Covina, so she confirmed the wire details multiple times. She asked Covina to list her mom as the recipient, so that her mom could pick the money up in America. Roommate gives Covina her mom's details and asks her multiple times to check that her mom is the recipient. Covina confirms it. The next day, roommate's mom tried to pick up the money, but the WU employee says that she is not listed as a recipient for the transfer. Mom tells Roomie that there is a problem. My roommate talks to Covina about what happened. Roomie: Covina, they wouldn't let my mom pick up the money. Who did you list as the recipient for the transfer? Oh, I changed it and listed you. I thought it'd be easier for you to pick it up than your mom. Covina, I told you many times that my mom would pick the money up. How can I pick the money up in America if I'm in China? Oh. It takes a while for the mistake to be corrected, but eventually her mom gets the money. Due to other mishaps, Covina is no longer the assistant at my school. Remember how I alluded to having an aneurysm at the beginning of this? Yeah, I think that's about to happen. This next post comes from Yowsi Phoenix. Covina versus geography. My 25-year-old female housemate, Covina, has just been batting them out of the park one after another tonight. She is playing Red Dead Redemption 2, set in the Wild West of America, and comments on the number of different languages and nationalities of her surrounding NPCs. One in particular catches her ears being French. She recognized this more because she lived in France for 12 years. That's weird, there's French people here. Why shouldn't there be French-speaking people there? 'Cause this is America. Me expecting an accidentally racist reply. So? Well, the only French bit of America I know really is Quebec. Okay, let me just deconstruct that sentence. Firstly, Quebec isn't in America. Okay, North America then. Quebec isn't in any of America. It's in Canada. Yeah, but Canada is in the United States. Do you think Canada is a state? Canada is a whole separate country. Quebec is a city within the country of Canada, which is not the USA. It borders the northern states, but only in the same way France borders Germany. Oh. Alright, OP. You are wrong in one way here. Canada is a part of North America. You are right in saying that it is not a part of the US, but it is part of the North American continent. I think this is the first time I've seen a lesser Kevin giving incorrect information to a more Kevin. Good luck with that. Our final post for the day comes from Lunette98. Covina, the French schoolgirl. Some posts reminded me of the Covina I had in my last class of high school. By the way, it was in France, a French territory, but that's too complicated for this story, and it's important. So this Covina had a bit of a reputation already, and I wasn't really believing it. To start off, she explains to our very expressive English teacher that she wants to go to law university in the USA, and to have an equivalent in France, so she will take a university degree in France and in the USA at the same time. Very, very expensive. We saw our teacher's face being more and more like, "Not possible, I can't believe it." Then she said that she wanted to go to Harvard. But mind you, she wasn't good at school at all, and she wanted to work for the FBI. One time, we were speaking about which university we wanted to go to next year, with the French platform Parcoursup. She refuses to take a pamphlet about how it works, saying that, "My school is waiting for me." She realizes in October that she needs to take the TOEFL to be able to try for the additions test. So she went to our English teacher at the beginning of the class, who tried to explain to her that she couldn't do anything for her, and she wasn't happy. How did she take the TOEFL? She flew to Paris for 3 weeks, a very long flight and a lot of jet lag, to take the test. Doing this, she left the group she was in for one of the sport tests needed for the baccalaureate. All the team had to take it in December because of her. Once, we were looking at a map about the Cold War, and she was very surprised to learn that France was on the USA's side and not with the USSR. Mind you, this wasn't the first time we saw this map. When she received the baccalaureate results, she cried because she hadn't got the très bien honors, and she got the nothing honors. She started saying that she was going to redo her years just for that. She also took the most difficult subject in philosophy, saying she had totally succeeded. She took the exam for her school, but she lost her code for the results, and I have no idea how that one ends. Our English teacher made us do a dialogue from time to time. It was like each said 3 to 5 sentences and then to the next group. She speaks for way too long, not letting the guy she's with talk. The teacher asks her to stop several times before she actually did. Finally, she was always talking in philosophy class, like all the time, about what she was going to do in the USA, her last trip, and a lot more. The only time she didn't speak was because our teacher got inspected, so very stressful for him. But even there, she asks why he was explaining the lesson like that. It was about theses and antithesis. Well, we can't do it for the exam. So he had to take a few minutes to explain to her that he needs to show every side of a subject for us to be prepared for the exam. He has been doing this since the beginning of the year. That's all I have in mind for now. Thank you for sharing, OP. But with that being said, I'm going to leave this episode of r/StoriesAboutKevin here. If you like the stories, I'll link them down in the description below. And if you like the video, subscribe, share, drop a like, and a comment down below what would you like to see me read next. A humongous thank you to all of my subscribers. I'm so happy to see that y'all are liking what I'm putting out. It gives me such a joy and a peace of mind to know that I'm doing something that y'all like. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video.